Okay. I'm going to bypass some of the stuff at the beginning, but I want to introduce myself and I want our guests to be able to introduce themselves. My name is Emily. I'm the Associate Director in the Study Abroad Office, and I have been at Geneseo just over 4 years, and I got to work with both Shawn and Harry on their Study Abroad program, so it's really cool seeing you guys here today. And hopefully you'll be able to leave this session with some understanding of the options available specifically for IR majors. There's a lot of really good study abroad program options, as well as virtual global education experience options. So we'll delve into that. Do you want to introduce yourselves, Harry and Shawn, and kind of speak to where you went abroad, when you went abroad, or a little bit about your virtual experience too, Shawn, and maybe a highlight and a challenge from your time abroad. So if I could put Harry on the spot, I'll have you go first.
All right, my name is Harry. I went to Switzerland in the summer of 2019 for a program called the Survey of International Organizations. I really liked it. It was just like a quick 4-week program, but it was 6 credits. And you got to like sample different international organizations. So there were like day trips to the UN, the European Council, the Council of Europe, all these international organizations. And then when you weren't visiting them, you got to learn at the University of Freiburg about all the different international organizations, as well as other topics like international business, international policy, and stuff like that. I would say the highlight of my trip was the location. What I really liked about Switzerland was it's right in the middle of Europe. And so we were actually able, like my classmates and I were able to take day trips on the weekends to other countries. So like we would learn during the week, and then during like one weekend we got to go to Italy, another weekend we could go to France, because like the railways there are so cheap in Europe, you can just travel from one country to the other. So that's what I really, really liked about the area and about the trip in general. I would say probably the low light of that trip was that it's one of the more challenging programs, because it's only 6 credits in 4 weeks. It was a lot of reading, a lot of homework. So it definitely wasn't an easy A study abroad. I think I got like a B and a B minus in the 2 classes because it was just really crammed in. So I would say if you're a good student, it shouldn't be a problem, but it's definitely not just a go there and get credit type study abroad.
Yeah, and like managing that, like working on the credit, like focusing on the academics during the program and traveling and maybe outside.
Not having too much fun, I guess. Yeah, a simple way to put it.
Yeah. And Shawn?
Oh, hey, I'm Shawn. I'm a senior poli-sci major. In the summer of 2019, I went on the Uganda study abroad program for 2 months with 2 other Geneseo students. Both of them are graduated, led by Professor Grace. And it was a really incredible program. We got there, they set us up with an organization there. The organization that me and the other 2 students were assigned to was called PEFO, Phoebe Education Fund for Orphaned and Vulnerable Children. So they worked with vulnerable children and their caretakers. So what we were doing during our time there was we were working with the community members and working with the organization to create a project with the community during our 2 months there, and to make it sustainable so it wouldn't be able to work after we left it. We ended up creating a project with the caretakers there, which were mostly grandmothers. So we helped them start a little business out of selling their crafts. So we brought in people to teach them about business skills. We brought in some like crafters from the capital city to teach them about how to strengthen the craft making. And we worked with them. We like read through like business books and stuff to create like a real like work plan, budget, all of that type of stuff, so they can create like a real business out of it. My experience was just really incredible. Like it's, I still talk to, I still talk to the other students that I did the program with, fairly often. I still keep in contact with my host family that I stayed there for 2 months. Actually, I just talked to them a couple of weeks ago, while I was home for winter break. And I even still talk to the people and get updates from the project that like I worked on. I actually just went on the website because I was interested. I haven't checked it out in a couple of months because part of our business was helping them create a website. And it took a really long time because we were kind of just laying the plans, but like the website, it's continuously being updated, but it looks really good. They have a lot more information on all the programs that they do. So it was just really rewarding to see, all the work that we put in, create a project and to see that it's still going. I guess a highlight of my trip, just the community. Like the people in Uganda are so nice. They're so friendly. People would just come up and talk, and people would just come up and talk with you and eat with you and drink with you. It's just really friendly. And I guess like a low light of my trip is just uh, you know, um, like the days themselves, could be pretty busy. I was pretty much waking up at 6 a.m. and going to bed at like midnight, 1 a.m. every night and doing that like every day. um, but it was that really good kind of busy where it's like you're doing things that you enjoy, you're hanging out with people that you enjoy, you're doing good work, you're having fun. So it's like that really good kind of exhaustion, but that would probably be like the low light of it.
Awesome, thank you. And then you did the Washington Center this past summer, right? The Washington Center internship program?
Yeah, I did the Washington. Do you want me to talk about that for a little while?
Yeah. If you don't mind sharing a little bit what that one was like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did the Washington Center program, which is a great program, especially for any kind of poli-sci or IR majors. It was a bit different this summer because this is the first summer that it was all virtual. But traditionally, you spend the summer in DC like 2 months. They put you in some kind of housing where you're with other students of the program, and they set you up with an organization that works in Washington D.C. I was originally set up to work with the what's it called with like the campus work the campus vote project, which is like part of a federal organization that works on expanding voting on college campuses. Um, um, but they weren't able to accommodate it because it was like online. So I ended up working on something else, an election campaign for a position in Florida, which actually ended up being actually ended up being a really great experience, even though it was not what it was originally meant to be. And then there was also, like workshops, and there's a class I took along with it too. I believe I took the political psychology class. And it was very interesting. I'm not sure, when the program is going to be back, like a fully in person. I'm still glad that I did it, even though it was online, because I definitely like learned a lot. I definitely like learned a lot, and a lot of the students really enjoy their internship experiences. But definitely when the program becomes in person again, I would highly recommend it because I think it's a really great learning experience, and especially a lot of things about poli-sci and IR are getting your foot in the door, especially if you want to work in like Capitol Hill or if you want to work for the federal government. So I think it's a really worthwhile experience.
Mm-hmm. And Amaya, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind? You can also put it in the chat if you prefer, but a little bit about like what you're looking for in regards to a study abroad experience. What your goal might be.
Oh, sure. I'm an international relations major, so I'm really looking to study somewhere in Europe. Hopefully, I have aims of working within the UN, kind of working up to that point. Not with the federal government. I want to move outside the US and make the most of my degree.
Fair enough. Okay, perfect. Well, you got a little bit of a sampling of some of the programs that work particularly well for IR majors. And I'll kind of delve into some of these, and please, Jeremy, jump in at any point in time. but we, and I'll talk a little bit about COVID-19 and how that's impacting study abroad here in a minute, but we have kind of a couple different program types. We have a host institution model, which means that if you participate in that kind of program, you would be going to that university abroad, or to that organization abroad. So all the programs that got mentioned already are all what we consider a host institution program, and they were all summer programs. So the Survey of International Organizations was ran through the University of Freiburg in Switzerland, and then the FSC Uganda program is an organization we work with in Uganda, and the Washington Center as well. We also have what's called faculty-led programs. These are programs that are led by our faculty at Geneseo. And for the IR requirement, a program needs to be at least 8 weeks, correct, Jeremy?
Yes, with a couple of options, like the one that Harry was on.
Yep. So there's the Survey of International Organizations is a 4-week program, but it still fulfills the IR requirement. I believe the Ghana sociology and one was exempt. I'm sorry, you said another one?
Senegal, the Francophone one in Senegal.
Perfect, yes, with Kojo Abra. So there are some exceptions, and so some of these shorter term faculty-led type programs, which are typically closer to 4 weeks, fulfilled the IR requirement. And then of course you can go outside of Geneseo. So if we don't have the right program, and there's maybe you're interested in Russian language and another SUNY has that kind of opportunity, there's certainly the ability to go to another SUNY for a study abroad program. As of right now, summer 2021 programs are suspended. We are hopeful that the fall will be happening and the academic year programs will be happening. So I'll talk about that a little bit more in a little bit. But for the summer, we do have virtual global education experiences, which include international internships, such as the one that Shawn mentioned. And I will kind of talk a little bit more about that. But considering regular study abroad, considering that hopefully we'll be able to start sending students abroad again in the fall. We have semester options, and really there's so many options for the semester. The sky's the limit in terms of, depends on where you want to go and what your goals are for your study abroad. What makes most sense for you? Is it, are you interested in learning another language? Are you interested in working with an international organization? Are you interested in getting like an internship or a service learning experience as part of your study abroad program? Depending on what you're looking for, will kind of influence what kind of program you'd pick. And then we have a number of summer programs that are specifically well fitted for a faculty, for a international relations student, such as the Uganda internship program that we do. We have a program that we work with an organization called Amadis and FIE, and it's a Jordan-Ireland conflict and the study and struggle for peace program. There is the Switzerland Survey of International Organizations program, and certainly we work with Webster University, and they have a campus in Geneva, Switzerland, and they always offer a number of summer courses related to political science that could be beneficial. And then there's the Washington Center program. In terms of virtual programs for this summer, we have a listing of our virtual programs on our website, and we'll be adding additional virtual programs there as we learn about more, including the SUNY COIL Global Commons program. This was a program that we launched for the first time last summer, and it's a SUNY-wide initiative. Geneseo hosted one of the courses last year, and we may be doing the same again this year. But it's a 6-credit program, and it allows you to do this program in 6 weeks. It's related to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And basically you do a 1 3-credit course on intercultural communication, essentially, or intercultural storytelling. And then you do a 2nd course related to one of the 6 SCG courses that they have. And as part of the 2nd course, you'll be paired with an international partner, and you'll be developing, you would be helping develop a project for the international partner. And like I said, this is all done virtually. So you're not having to travel to these locations, unfortunately, but it's a really, really unique program. Now, what kind of term are you thinking about, Amaya, for your study abroad? I know you said you're a junior. Is there a term you're specifically interested in?
I'm looking for 2021 or spring 2022. I was really interested in the summer, especially the Switzerland one, but if
yeah,
you know, it's online.
There's a chance, actually. They weren't going to make the call. If they couldn't offer it in person, they were going to move it online. They offered it online last summer. Let me follow up with our contacts at SIO to see if there's any update on that. I'm not sure when they're going to make that call, but I can let you know. I can get back to you on that. The cool thing about that program is, and maybe Harry, you can talk a little bit more about that. Your teachers are a lot of, like you said, each week is a different theme, and your teachers are different guest lecturers, correct?
Yes, some of the lecturers are just like lecturers at the University of Freiburg, but then also many lecturers are also guest lecturers from various fields. One guy, Ian Charles Stewart, he was an incredible individual. He had a very interesting background. I think he worked on Wired magazine. He worked for The Economist, which was like the UK economics newspaper. He worked for all these things. Other guest lecturers, I mean, there were various, just like local CEOs of businesses, workers for a lot of these places that we visited, such as like the Council of Europe or the UN workers. So yeah, that was very interesting how they really tried to make it as packed as possible in the 4 weeks. So yeah, there are a lot of guest lectures and a lot of really interesting talks.
Yeah, I don't know how last summer went in its translation into an online format, but usually as part of the program, there's like, yeah, they go out and you go visit a lot of these sites. So I would hope that they incorporate some sort of virtual visit, but I'm not sure. So you're looking at spring 2022, and I feel pretty confident that will be possible. What we're looking at when we're evaluating the risk, we're look at it first from a macro viewpoint. So we're looking to resources like the Center for Disease Control and the U.S. Department of State's travel advisories when making a decision. Most of the world right now, so the CDC has COVID-19 risk levels, and most of the world right now, unfortunately, is at the highest level of risk for the CDC. And that's not within Geneseo's or SUNY's tolerance to send students to those locations. The one place that was looking good a couple places that we do send students that were looking better included like countries like Thailand, South Korea, Australia, New Zealand. But then the second level that we're looking at is we're looking to see if they will allow us to go to those locations. So for example, a summer program couldn't run in New Zealand as of today because they will not allow Americans in on a tourist visa, or most visitors, not just Americans. So we're evaluating the kind of the macro perspective, but then we're, if things look good, we would then review it from a micro perspective of what is our partner on the ground doing to keep our students safe, what kind of policies and protocols do they have in place. And so that was the plan. SUNY did make the decision for us. We were going to make a decision on March 15th based on where things were at. I'm hopeful for by the time fall, we have to make a decision about fall, that will be a decision that we can make at a more local level with the support of the Office of Global Affairs and SUNY. But there's information on our website related to COVID-19 and study abroad, including how do we assess the risk of a location, when do we determine when a program is going to be suspended. So for anybody interested in like the winter intersession, for example, we're not going to make any decision. The plan is not to make any decision until August 1st at the earliest. And for the fall, we're looking really to June 1st. And I hope to God things will be normal by next spring and we won't be following this policy, but it would be October 15th we'd be looking at for spring 2022. So this is the kind of the outline of how we make decisions as of right now. Obviously, some of this is with the rollout of vaccines and what role that will play, but there's a lot of other additional kind of questions, and we have, provide answer if you have to quarantine abroad and some things of that nature. So we're going to kind of delve a little bit more in this on the upcoming slides, but obviously cost is a large reason why some students might not be able to study abroad. And I always say that the semester is a better value, no matter which program you go on, whether it's an exchange program, which essentially costs about the same as being at Geneseo, or if it's a one-directional program, meaning we're just sending students to that university, it's almost always more affordable to go during the semester. First of all, you're not paying outside of your normal tuition. And then a lot of times if you are going on a more expensive program, what you're paying above and beyond can sometimes still be less than what it would cost to do a summer program. So it really kind of just depends, but we have a number of exchange programs, like I said, that cost virtually the same as being a residential student at Geneseo. We also have a couple one-directional programs that also cost almost the same. Like we have a program in South Africa at Rhodes University. We've had some IR students go to that cost less than being at Geneseo. We have a program at Sogang University, which is an exchange program in Seoul, South Korea, which actually costs less than being at Geneseo. So when you're presented with programs like that, I'm like, why not study abroad? You could be somewhere fantastic like Grahamstown, South Africa, or you could be here. Our job is to help support you and all that, and help you find the appropriate program that fits your needs. Obviously, there's a lot of really good reasons to go on a short-term program. If you're an athlete, I think, Carrie, I see you must be on the swim team.
Yes, I am. That was a big reason for me. I was worried when I first learned that IR majors have to go abroad as much as I always wanted to, because I had already made the commitment to swim. And then I found out about my program, SIO. So yes, that's definitely a big plus for athletes. There are a lot of programs you can do over the summer. Or also if you're just involved in other things that you don't want to miss Geneseo for, like clubs or anything else.
Yeah, if you have an internship you want to do during the semester, you have, you have responsibilities, you have a job that you can't leave, you work in res life. There's a lot of good reasons to go during the summer or for the intersession. I know we have programs that are even up to 12 weeks during the summer. I know we had an IR student who used to work in our office who spent 12 weeks in Ecuador. So he just did it all during the summer versus going during the semester. So I'll show you a cost sheet, but basically there's a program differential, standard tuition, your housing, and your flight that you have to keep in mind. There might be some other things you need to consider, including a passport, a visa, if it's applicable. And a deposit is not an extra cost. It's just something that you have to bear in mind. That's something that you would pay up front. So for example, I mentioned our program in South Africa for this semester. So we have cost sheets on our program pages. We also have them on our website. So if we went to South Africa, this is a cost sheet from 1920, but it gives you an idea. There's the study abroad differential. So depending on the program, this includes different things. So this is your tuition difference, it's your room and board, it's your airport transportation, it's your health insurance. You're looking at about $3,200. You pay standard tuition and college fee. You don't have to pay any of the other fees you normally would pay. And then there's the other estimated expenses. So your visa, your airfare, and these are things that you don't pay to Geneseo, so this could fluctuate based on you. So they say all in to be a Geneseo residential student, you're paying $13,000 to be at Geneseo per semester. This program all in estimated cost is about $11,500. So it's a really affordable program. Like I said, we have exchange programs that also kind of run that kind of line. We have more expensive programs. I mentioned Webster Geneva being in a really great location to spend a semester as an IR student. This one's more expensive. This one, it's a private institution, and so there's a tuition difference. And it's a one-directional program, so we're just sending students versus an exchange where we send students and we receive students, and each set of students pays homeschool tuition. This one's going to be a little bit more pricey. You can see this one's almost double the price of the Rose University program. But the nice thing about this program is that you get $1,000 towards your airfare, so it does knock the price down a little bit. But so we have a variety of program costs. Your summer program will typically run anywhere from $5,000 for probably the cheapest summer programs that we offer to about $10,000. So it kind of just depends on where you're going, for how long, different factors of that nature. There's some different ways to support your study abroad. The general rule for the semester study abroad is if you use financial aid, you can use it on your semester study abroad, as long as you follow all the same rules you would need to on campus. So you got to take like degree applicable coursework, for example. For the summer, it's a little different. You have to take at least 6 credits to access your aid, and it does reduce your aid package for the overall year, unless you're a Pell student, in which you can get additional aid for the summer. In winter intercession, there's usually no aid associated with winter intercession, so that's a little trickier. But winter intercession doesn't really work quite as well with IR because of the IR requirement. Then there's scholarships and grants. We have a number of scholarships and grants that we give out from between $500 to $1,000. And then there's outside scholarships. There's some particularly good ones for international, for students interested in international relations. One is the Bourne Award for International Studies. And Dr. Michael Mills, who's the Director of National Fellowships and Scholarships at Geneseo, is a really good resource for this. But they really want you to work on a critical language, and they want you to go for a semester a year for this kind of program. And so I had a student at a different institution I worked at that won one for India. He was going to go work on his Urdu, which was super impressive. And you get, if you get a Bourne Award, you get put in a special pool of candidates for federal jobs, if you're interested in a federal job. I know this one is this one's not as much direct study abroad related, but there's also the critical language scholarship through the U.S. Department of State, which basically pays, it's more, like I said, postgraduate, for you to go spend time in another country working on a critical language. So that's also a really nice one. But there's also the Gilman Scholarship, which is a really important one, which is for Pell eligible students. You can get up to $5,000 for your study abroad and for your virtual global education experience. So it also applies to your virtual programs. We have a number of info sessions coming up where we're going to delve more into our semester options. So Maya, if there's like a program, let's say you were really interested in Webster University, Geneva, and you wanted to hear a little bit more about that program, we're going to be doing a number of those coming up here as part of Ready, Set, Study Abroad. But there's also, you can make a virtual advising appointment with us. And you typically apply one semester before. So if you're looking at spring 2022, you would apply in the fall for that program. And it's a pretty easy application process. We require a couple of letters of recommendation and a personal statement. But then we're here to guide you through the process. So for example, when Shawn went to Uganda, we were here to help him get the Ugandan visa process in order. He had to get a yellow fever shot, so we kind of guided him through that process. For that program, Professor Grace is very involved to support students in preparing for that program. We do pre-departure orientations and guide you through that process. One question I had actually for Professor Grace is, with the IR requirement, is there any update on where things stand for IR students as far as fulfilling the IR requirement with everything going on right now with the pandemic?
Yeah, well, first of all, because Maya's in my intro class, I already know that she's an international student. So she actually is not even governed by the requirement.
Okay.
You're automatically exempt from it. I would still think you should go abroad, and I think you should too. Otherwise, you wouldn't be at the meeting today. But just for your information, Emily, every 2021 graduate is waived, May, August, and December. We are also allowing any of these virtual programs to satisfy the requirement for any student, no matter what their graduation date is. So even a freshman could take one of the COIL programs or do the Uganda virtual internship and satisfy the requirement that way. We will make a determination about 2022, probably late this semester or early in the summer. The news that we were not going to be able to offer any programs this summer obviously makes it more likely we will extend it for one more semester, the waiver, because we don't want seniors coming in with no way to schedule, for May 22 grads don't really have a way to do it without getting organized for the fall, which is, even the fall is still a little bit up in the air. So that's where we are on the requirement right now.
Thank you. Yeah, I knew we had at least one student reach out about that the other day, so that's helpful to know.
If you want me to put that in writing, I can send it to you in an email.
Perfect. And then, Amaya, do you have any questions for me, for Harry, for Shawn, for Professor Grace?
the COIL Global Commons count towards IR requirements?
Yes, right.
Okay. I also had a question about with internships. If you're working with an international organization, but you're not doing a study abroad, does it also count?
If it's, yes, I think if it's, I mean, we have ours, and then I don't know what in terms of other international internships you're accepting, Professor Grace.
Yeah, our internships and study abroad are distinct. Sometimes they overlap, but there is a distinct path you can take. You don't have to go abroad. The rule is that you have to be working with an organization that is doing something relevant to international affairs, and your job has to be specifically relevant to international affairs. So any intergovernmental organization, of course, we're going to approve that. You know, but we've even had weird situations like people got an internship at the New York State Assembly, which you wouldn't think would satisfy that the spirit of the requirement, but they were working in the Foreign Trade Office. Of course, yeah, we'll count that. We've had a lot of students doing internships with immigrants, refugees, and asylum seekers in their hometowns across New York State. We will use that. I know that there's Washington semester programs, Shawn. Yours wasn't specifically that, but they do have opportunities, for example, to do an internship in DC with the Council on Foreign Relations or with the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee or with a think tank that's working on global issues. So yeah, the internship opportunities are out there. And you have, you know, most IR majors have to do one or the other. And then of course there's the Uganda program, which essentially is both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we've had really positive feedback from our students who've done the virtual internship through Uganda. And I'm happy to put you in touch with them. Or we also have a couple students doing the Kaya Responsible Travel virtual international internship. The Kaya Responsible Travel, there's a lot of information on our website related to it, but they work with organizations in multiple locations. So I know we have one IR student who's working with an organization in Ecuador right now, and working on this during her spring semester. I anticipate we'll be offering these again in the fall, so you could also do one of these in the fall. And what's important to us is it's not just a virtual internship. There has to be a wraparound cultural component to it. So they have like a number of different activities they're organizing to introduce you to the culture, to help orient you to the people that you'll be working with. So you're not just going to be thrown in there. And that's true of the FSC Uganda program. They do language training. They do a lot of support to help you understand how to do sustainable development work. And then we also, I know since you were interested in Europe, we also have a virtual international option through the Foundation for International Education. And for this one, you'd be working with an organization in the UK or Ireland. And they have things related to, I guess the closest I could think of related to IR would be charity, nonprofit, business administration, or communication and journalism kind of internship. But so those are some of those. We'll be, like I said, we'll be adding more, including the COIL will definitely be offered. We'll be updating this once we have a little bit more information on the COIL program, as well as I expect us to offer a program through Siena Italian Studies. And like I said, I'll look into the Survey of International Organizations, see if we can offer that online. Any other questions?
I think that covers it for me.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna stop recording real quick.